Now I'll do my screen share. I should have done the other way around, but I got mixed up. Okay, here we go. So today is May 17th, 2022. I had a really cool thing I was going to show you, but for some reason my Chrome's blocking it. But I'll show you what you can do with it anyway, so you can take a look at it because it is kind of neat. Yeah, May 17th. And let me just grab this one link. And we'll put Clipchamp in there at the very, very end here. All right, then. So
it's actually the 19th, Trevor.
What? Oh, thank you. Apparently, I can't count. All right, let's take a look at working with Microsoft Teams. So Teams has some new functionality in it. I'm just going to bring up the Teams page that I want. So because we're now, a bunch of us are working hybrid, some at home, some at work and stuff, when you create your meetings, you can actually indicate that. So when we look at creating a meeting, and this will be in Outlook as well, but when you show as busy, but there's a new choice in here called working elsewhere. And I think the way that's supposed to be meaning is that if your office is your default setting, that you're working, then working elsewhere might mean that you're working from home or from a coffee shop or whatever else. But ideally what it means is that when you're attending this meeting, you will not necessarily be in your office place, and that's not where the meeting is necessarily going to be. When you accept an invitation, you can do the same thing as well. So if it happens to be like on a Thursday, and the Thursday mornings you typically are at Tim Hortons, you can indicate that you will not, you will attend the meeting, but you're going to be attending while working elsewhere. So you won't necessarily be in person. And as technology support and the university adapts more and more of these office spaces and meeting rooms that will have the monitor in there along with a camera and everything else that you can connect to, it's not really going to matter whether you're at home or you're in the office in person, or you're in your office at your office, but you don't want to leave the office. You'll be able to still come together doing a video call, but at least you'll be able to find out, as I look at it, how many people will be dialing in versus how many people will be showing up in person. So that's kind of a nice functionality that we'll be seeing more and more of that happening with the different apps. Outlook, as I said, is working with, it's available in Outlook as well right now. And I know I've seen some of the stuff coming down the pipe. There's other things that they're doing with this kind of concept of you not being there in person, but indicating where you are. By default, when you create, if you're using web, if you're creating an appointment here, typically, I'm going to just go into the piece here. I can throw this switch on here and it will turn on Teams meeting. And you notice there it says it'll turn this on automatically once you add an attendee. But maybe I'm working with somebody external that is not comfortable with Teams and I want to put in a Google Meet link or a Webex link. So under the three dots on the more options, you can go and get add-ins. And there's a whole list of add-ins that you can do. But one of the ones that we're looking at is things like Zoom, or Google Meet, or Webex. And when they load these up, you'll basically, first time they'll use it, it'll say, hey, I need you to log in with whatever account you're using. You click on that, log in with the account. Now I can create meetings, and instead of having the team meeting, I can say, you know what, we're going to use Google Meet. And it's going to be using my McEwen account because that's what I logged in with. Come on, open it up. Oh, there we go, add a meeting. And there comes all the information. There it is for all my Google Meet. Still tied to Trevor's Google account, and so I get all the all the bonus features at a login account as opposed to using a free account. I get to use all of that as well. So I can switch, pick and choose what different services I want. We took a look a couple weeks ago. You can do the same thing in Google Calendar. I don't know if I have it set up, but let me just pull up Calendar here real quick. So I can do the same thing. I can add these plugins in. Let me just pull it open, see if it'll let me do it here. Right, so I have a plugin. So if I was using Google Calendar, I could, instead of having Google Meet, which is default, I could use Microsoft or Webex, and you just go and add those plugins as well into the calendar. The nice thing too is I could be using my personal Gmail account, but I'm going to log in with maybe my Microsoft Teams work account. So even though it's a personal Gmail account, all my calendar invitations are tied to Gmail. The moment we click on the video call, I have to log in with my McEwen account, which gets me more than 1 hour of meeting. It gets me all these extra features that I get being part of Google. So there's all sorts of great interactivity that they're doing. Microsoft used to be so siloed and say, you can only use our stuff. We're not going to pay attention to anybody else's stuff. But now they've realized this is how we collaborate, and we use different tools, and you'll see that more and more. There are a number of add-ons or add-ins available. The McEwen is limited because tech support can only support so many of those, and quite frankly, there's a bunch of them that all do the same thing. So, but these ones here tied into the basic ones that we use all the time, you'll be able to add those items into there as well. Another one add-on, while we're talking about it, I'm going to switch over to the email side of things for a sec. So I'm going to create a new message, and maybe as part of the message, I want to take a quick poll and say, hey guys, where does everyone want to eat? Well, again, I could go in, and when you look at those add-ons, I can add, I always have to forget where they have it, something called polls. So here we've got Google Meet. I could add a meeting to this email, not the calendar event, but I can also add a poll. And the poll is basically Google's version of Forms. Now, Google is rebranding Forms in the sense that if you use a form which asks a single question, that form, they call it polls, it's only going to ask one question. So they're going to call it polls. You'll find it in Teams soon, as well as here in Outlook. Right now, it's called Forms in different places. So they're in the middle of rebranding some of that stuff. In the end, it's still using Google Forms. But I don't actually have to go into the Forms tool to go in and create my different polls and stuff. I can do it right from within the email of that. And that'll be very handy. Here, this is just showing up because I haven't signed in yet. But if I click on that, it's just going to ask me to log in and authenticate and all that stuff. And then we're up and running. There's my poll. I can quickly put it in. Where to eat. Here. There. Not an option. Home. Throw that in and bang. It's going to get added to the email. The nice thing is when this gets sent out on the Microsoft side of things, here you see it's a link, but when it comes to your email, it's actually going to allow you to vote directly inside the message. So you don't have to click on this link to go to a different page. This is just for those browsers or those email clients that don't recognize it. You can go to that page. But the Microsoft side of things, you can vote right within the email. And that just gives you some really good feedback. I always say when you look at stuff like this, this is when you use those questions that you send out when you go, what do you think of? Or how would you like to do ABC? Or what do you want to do? Instead of trying to get a bunch of emails back and collect those emails, use polls, use a Microsoft document or a Google Doc or something. Get people to type their answers into a document somewhere or use this forms and stuff. Because that way you don't have to sit there and go through and take a look, pick and choose, kind of collate all the information. It's done for you automatically, which when I was in the registrar's office, and if I send an email out to everyone in the reg office for something, there's 100 people. Now 100 responses come back in. Someone's got to collate all that and make it all into little groups and stuff. I said, no, let's use forums. Let's use a Google Doc, whatever, depending on what the purpose is. And that'll make your life so much easier when you're collecting that data.
I have a question, Trevor.
Sure.
On that poll, then do other people get to see other people's responses? And then where do you go to find out what that data looks like?
Okay, so let me just send this off to my staff account. It's being CC'd to me and sent. I think in this case, the polls, I believe everyone gets to see it. Did I not send it off yet? Yeah, I sent it off. So I just gotta wait till it gets here. Just give me a sec. Come back here. Come on, there we go. Where to eat. So there you can view your results. So everyone gets to see this. Here, like I said, I can vote right here. I don't actually have to go to a different page. And then this actually should be in Forms because it is, unless they've changed it in the last 2 weeks. But whoops, hang on a second. Microsoft Forms. Where to eat. So it just shows up as a form there. Because really that's what it is. Even though they call it a poll in Teams and Outlook, it's still a form. I don't know why they're mixing the branding up. It's like, do what it is.
Thank you.
No worries. The only difference between forms and polls really is polls is one question, where forms is a number of questions, right? Because you're taking a feedback or whatever else. Okay, so that's that one. I want to talk about Google Maps for a second. This is especially important for those of us who are driving and gas and stuff. So right now, typically people will use Google Maps to go to one location. And we've shown before how you can go to multiple locations. So for example, I'm here, MacEwan University is going to be my starting point. I'm going to switch my starting point from MacEwan. I'm going to go to the CN Tower. And then we've got like our point A to point B route. There it is there. But you can go and add other destinations here. So I can go in here and I'm going to add in, I don't know, let's go Norquest just for the heck of it. Why would you want to go there, Trevor? I don't know, but I do. So now we've got this map laid out here in different places and stuff. The nice thing that's kind of cool about it is if I look at this map and I go, it makes more sense to hit Norquest first, then to go to there, I can just go up here and shift the order around, and it's making my thing work better. The other day, my wife, she works for or volunteers for Meals on Wheels. So I went out with her and I did all the driving. They give us a list, and there's like 10 or 8 different places to go to, but they're not in any order. So you could be backtracking all the time. So what you can do instead, though, is you can plot everything into the Google Maps. So I'm just going to pull this up really quickly here, and this is what it looks like on Google Maps here. Now I'm going to pull up this, so you can see here we've got locations all over the place. I can't really tell where they are. This is where using the mobile version actually just shines. So let me just share my screen here. So just give me 2 seconds. Then we'll join in. So I'm actually using my iPad for this, just so you can see the bigger screen. And just give me a sec once I join. Oh, mute. Nothing like feedback. Okay, just give me 2 seconds to find the sharing screen, which is this one here. Share screen, there we are. And I'll just make sure everyone can see that. Okay, good. So what I'm doing now is I'm going to go into Google. Now I've actually, in Google, you can set this all up and go and pre-program your route, and then you can send the directions to your phone. I just took the directions, these same directions, and threw them in my email. So I'm just going to put this screen over here and just make sure you can see. Yeah, you can. So here's the route, a route that was plotted. One of the nice things I like about the mobile thing is on the left-hand side, there's the same locations, but they actually have A, B, C, D attached to them, so you can see the order that it wants you to go into. And you can see on the map here, all those locations. So right now, it looks like we're going to start over here as our first, sorry, the white spot here is our starting point. A there is our second place that we're going to hit, then C. Notice how I'm kind of going all over the place to get to there. It would make sense to go from this home spot by the Royal Museum, which is our starting point, over to C first. So all I need to do is go up into the, come on here. So I'm going to take C here, and you see the 3 lines. That means move it. So I'm going to move it up here in place. Watch what happens to my map. It starts to take a look and reprogram itself. I don't want C to be my third stop. I want to actually E. So I'm going to take E, move it into that place. And look at that. Now I've gone, instead of doing a bunch of back and forth and driving all over the city, I have now programmed a nice way of going that saves me gas. I'm not backtracking, and it's just a nice, easier route for me to go in. So anytime that you get a list of these places, you can quickly add them into on your mobile device. Now, once you've done that, one thing I would suggest doing is the 3 dots on the top corner here up beside where MacEwan University address is. When you click on that, you can share your directions. And I recommend message it to yourself, throw it in the notes, put it somewhere else. Because sometimes you're working on this this document or this Google map. I got a pop-up from Google. I clicked on it and I lost my map and I had to reprogram everything. Whereas if you have copy the link and paste it into a document, you email it to yourself, then it's just like you saw here before. I just have to go into my notes or the link, I tap on there, and there's that whole route again. So it just saves me from rebuilding everything all the time. And that's a great way when you're doing all those tours around, or tours, not tours, what do you call them? Chores. Chores and tasks around town. It's a great way for you to save time and not have to use up as much money on gas, right? Backtracking.
Trevor, I have a question.
Sure.
Is there any way that Google Maps can do it for you? Like, what if you didn't know, like you're just doing it visually, dragging those, like you're looking at it and being like, well, that doesn't make sense, I'll drag it, but there's no way that they could just suggest the best route if you have put multiple destinations in?
No, I haven't found anything that'll do that yet. I've seen a couple of apps that supposedly do that, and in the end, when I went and looked at it, it wasn't as good. That's why I said the nice thing about this is you can see that there's an A, down here is C, down here is B. It's a lot easier when you can see those letters there. Then you can go into here and go, okay, so there's my spot. I want C to be my first spot, so I'm just going to click and drag that into place. I find that actually works pretty good. It's that functionality of the ABCD is not available on Google Maps on your browser, which is why it's coming to your iPad or your phone or something like that. It's a better choice because those ABCDs are there. Makes it easier for you to go, oh, okay, well, there's B, E's over there. I want to hit E instead of C, so I'm just going to click and drag it. And, that's pretty quick and easy to do. But yeah, I wish there were services that actually did a good job of it, but there aren't that I found. But if you find one, let me know. I'd love to know that. Any other questions? Oh, I was moving stuff around on my screen and I stopped sharing, so you didn't see it. But imagine it was just exactly like what you saw before. Okay, I think that is pretty much it, if I remember correctly. So if last questions, anyone? Okay, I'm going to stop the recording.